안녕하세요. 우리 가족 마태복음 챕터 12부터 읽도록 하겠습니다. 네, 시작하겠습니다. Matthew chapter 12. At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath through the grain fields, and his disciples became hungry and began to pick ears of grain and eat. But the Pharisees, seeing this, said to him, "Behold, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath." But he said to them, "Have you not read what David did when he became hungry, and those who were with him? How he entered into the house of God, and they ate the bread of the presence, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, except for the priests only? Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are guiltless?
But I say to you that something greater than the temple is here. But if you knew what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. And departing from there, he came into their synagogue. And behold, a man who had a withered hand was there. And they asked him, saying, "Is it lawful to heal on a Sabbath?" So that they might accuse him. And he said to them,
It's okay.
What man will there be among you who will have one sheep?
그래, 괜찮아. 아빠가 읽을게 그러면. And he said to them, "What man will there be among you who will have one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Sabbath, will not take hold of it and lift it out? Or how much more value then is a man than a sheep? So then it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and it was restored, as sound as the other. But the Pharisees, going out, took counsel against him as to how they might destroy him. But Jesus, knowing it, withdrew from there, and many followed him, and he healed them all.
And he charged them not to make him known, in order that what was spoken through Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled, saying, "Behold my servant, whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul has found delight. I will put my spirit upon him, and he will announce justice to the Gentiles. He will not strive nor cry out, nor will anyone hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and smoking flax he will not quench until he bring forth justice and victory.
And in his name will the Gentiles hope." Then there was brought to him one possessed by a demon, blind and dumb, and he healed him, so that the dumb man spoke and saw. And all the crowds were amazed and said, "Is this not the son of David?" But the Pharisees, hearing this, said, "This man does not cast out the demons except by Beelzebul, ruler of the demons." But knowing their thoughts, he said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself becomes desolate, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand."
And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? And if I, by Beelzebul, cast out the demons, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore, they shall be your judges. But if I, by the Spirit of God, cast out the demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. Or how can anyone enter into the house of the strong man and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man? And then he will thoroughly plunder his house. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters.
Therefore I say to you, every sin and blasphemy will be forgiven men, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. And whoever speaks a word against the Son of Man, it will be forgiven him. But whoever speaks against the Holy Spirit, it will not be forgiven him, neither in this age nor in the one to come. Either make the tree good and its fruit good, or make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt. For by the fruit the tree is known. Offspring of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good of things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. The good man out of good treasure brings forth good things, and the evil man out of evil treasures brings forth evil things.
And I say to you that every idle word which men shall speak, they will render an account concerning it in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned. Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered him, saying, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. But he answered and said to them, An evil and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and the sign shall not be given to it except the sign of Jonah the prophet. For just as Jonah was in the belly of the great fish 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights.
Ninevites men will stand up in the judgment within this generation and will condemn, because they repented the preaching of Jonah. And behold, something more than Jonah is here. The queen of the south will raise up in the judgment with this generation and will condemn, because she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, something more than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit goes out from the man, it burns through waterless places, seeking rest, and does not find it. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came out. And he comes and finds it unoccupied, swept, and decorated. Then it goes and takes along with itself 7 other spirits more evil than itself. And they enter in and settle down there. And the last stage of that man becomes worse than the first. So shall it be also with this evil generation.
While he was still speaking to the crowds, behold, his mother and his brothers stood outside seeking to speak to him. And someone said to him, Behold, your mother and your brothers are standing outside seeking to speak to you. But he answered and said to them who spoke to him, Who is my mother and who are my brothers? And stretching out his hand toward his disciples, he said, Behold, my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father who is in the heavens, he is my brother and sister and mother.
Chapter 13.
On that day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds were gathered to him, so that he stepped into a boat and sat, and all the crowd stood on the shore. And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell beside the way, and the birds came and devoured them. And others fell on the rocky places, where they did not have much earth, and immediately they sprang up because they had no depth of earth.
But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered. And others fell on the thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them. but others fell on the good earth and yielded fruit, one 100-fold, and one 60-fold, and one 30-fold. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said to him, Why do you speak in parables to them?
And he answered and said to them, Because to you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the heavens, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has, it shall be given to him, and he will abound. But whoever does not have, even that which he has shall be taken away from him. For this reason I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. And in them the prophecy of Isaiah is being fulfilled, which says, In hearing you shall hear, and by no means understand, and seeing you shall see, by no means perceive. For the heart of this people has become fat, and with their ears they have heard heaven, and their eyes they have closed, lest they perceive with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart, and they turn around and I will heal them.
But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I say to you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to perceive the things that you see, and have not perceived them, and to hear the things that you hear, and have not heard them. You therefore hear the parable of the one who sowed. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand, the evil one comes and snatches away that which had been sown in his heart. This is one sown beside the way, and the one sown on the rocky places. This is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy.
Yet he does not have root in himself, but lasts only for a time. And when affliction or persecution occurs because of the word, immediately he is stumbled. And the one sown in the thorns, this is he who hears the word, and the anxiety of the age and the deceitfulness of riches utterly choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. But the one sown on the good earth, this is he who hears the word and understands, who by all means bears fruit and produces one 100-fold, and one 60-fold, and one 30-fold. Another parable he set before them, saying, The kingdom of the heavens has become like a man sowing good seed in his field. But while the man slept, his enemy came and sowed tares in the midst of the wheat and went away.
And when the blade sprouted and produced fruit, then the tares appeared also. And the slaves of the master of the house came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did the tares come from? And he said to them, An enemy has done this. And the slaves said to him, Do you want us then to go and collect them? But he said, No, lest while collecting the tares, you uproot the wheat along with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Collect first the tares and bind them into bundles to burn them up, but the wheat gather into my barn.
Another parable he set before them, saying, The kingdom of the heavens is like a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, and which is smaller than all the seeds, but when it has grown, it is greater than all the herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the heavens come and roost in its branches. Another parable he spoke to them, The kingdom of the heavens is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of a meal until the whole thing was leavened. All these things Jesus spoke in parables to the crowd, and apart from a parable, he spoke nothing to them, so that what was spoken through the prophet might be fulfilled, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, I will utter things hidden from the foundation of the world.
Then, leaving the crowds, he went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, "Make the parable of the tares of the field clear to us." And he answered and said, "He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, and the field is the world, and the good seed, these are the sons of the kingdom, and the tares are the sons of the evil one. And the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the consummation of the age, and the reapers are angels. Therefore, just as the tares are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at consummation of the age.
The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all the stumbling blocks and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. In that place, there will be the sweeping and the gnashing of teeth, and the righteous will shine forth like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. The kingdom of the heavens is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid, and in his joy goes and selling all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of the heavens is like a merchant seeking fine pearls.
And finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of the heavens is like a net cast into the sea and gathering from every species, which, when it was filled, they brought onto the shore and sat down and collected the good into vessels, but the foul they cast out. So it will be at the consummation of the age. The angels will go forth and separate the evil from the midst of the righteous, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. In that place there will be the weeping and the gnashing of teeth.
Have you understood all these things? They said to him, "Yes." And he said to them, "For this reason, every scribe disciple to the kingdom of the heavens is like a householder who brings forth out of his treasure things new and old." And when Jesus had finished these parables, he departed from there. And he came into his own country and taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astounded and said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these works of power? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas?
And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all of these things?" And they were stumbled because of him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own house." And he did not do many works of power there because of his unbelief. Chapter 14.
At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report concerning Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead, and because of this, these works of power are operating through him. For Herod has seized John and bound him and put him in prison on account of Herodias, the wife of Philip, his brother. For John had been saying to him, 'It is not lawful for you to have her.' And though he desired to kill him, he feared the crowd because they held him as a prophet."
But when Herodias' birthday came, the daughters of Herodias danced in their midst and praised Herod. Hence, he promised with an oath to give her whatever she asked. And she, being instigated by her mother, saying, "Give me here on a platter the head of John the Baptist." And the king was grieved, because of the earth and those reclining at table with him, he commanded it to be given. And he sent men and beheaded John in the prison.
And his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came and took the corpse and buried it, and they came and reported the matter to Jesus. And when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place privately. And when the crowds heard of it, they followed him on foot from the cities. And going forth, he saw a great crowd, and he was moved with compassion for them, and healed their sick. Now when evening fell, the disciples came to him, saying, "This place is deserted, and the hour is already late. Send the crowds away, that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves."
But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "We do not have anything here except 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And after commanding the crowds to recline on the grass, he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 handbaskets full.
And those who ate were about 5,000 men, apart from women and children. And immediately he compelled the disciples to step into the boat and to go before him to the other side, while he sent the crowds away. And after he sent the crowds away, he went up to the mountain privately to pray. And when night fell, he was there alone. Now the boat was already in the midst of the sea, being battered by the waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea.
And the disciples, seeing him walking on the sea, were startled, saying, "It is a ghost," and they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus talked to them, saying, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." And Peter, coming down from the boat, walked on the water and came toward Jesus. But seeing the strong wind, he became frightened, and as he began to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And
immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and took hold of him and said to him, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got up into the boat, the wind ceased. And those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." And they crossed over, came to land of
Gennesaret.
Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent word into all that surrounding region and brought to him all who were ill.
And they begged him that they might only touch the fringe of his garment. And as many as touched were completely healed.
예, 오늘은 여기까지 읽겠습니다. 들어주셔서 감사합니다. 다음에 뵙겠습니다.
Bye. Goodbye.